Hi everyone, this is Sarah with the Paper Cut. I am starting not like I normally do. Normally I start with you looking at me, but I'm at a friend's house today and we're actually stamping. So I have a different setup with just my laptop. So Tammy is behind the monitor looking at questions, and she'll ask me questions if you have questions. My mom is also online and she will link you. And then at the very end, we'll actually move the camera so you can see my face. So it's because there's a lot of new people that aren't used to the paper cut. So anyways, welcome. And we are doing our craft or our crossover event with Stamplistic. I know a lot of you were just online. Oh, I see my mom. She's here watching in Appleton. But a lot of you were just on with Jennifer creating these beauties. So we're going to create 2 cards using these. So now, if you're ever short of something, let us know. So if you're watching this live, you can just type in if you're missing something, and then Tammy will write it down and I'll get it out in the mail to you. If you are watching this after the fact, you want to email me or message me because I usually don't get back through all of the comments. So let's get to our kit really quick. So in our kit, oops, hang on, my stuff is falling down. In our kit, and I already took a piece out of this, but you have instructions. You also have the 2 kits for the cards that we're doing today. And then you also had another packet. So let's just talk about that other packet, because in that other packet you have a bag that has fishing line in it. You're going to need that, so you can pull that out. Everything else that's in here is for other cards that you can do on your own. There is an envelope for this card. It just didn't fit in with that sleeve. So the big square envelope is for your square card. And then you also have an A2 envelope, or a couple A2 envelopes, a couple A2 cards, and another A6 card. So all of these you can put aside. So just put those away because you don't need those for class. You don't need your big envelope for class. And we are going to start out with the thank you card. Okay, so let's set our directions aside and we can open up our card kit. And I'm just going to explain like how we got to some of the things that we got. So we're going to just set those aside. Now you will need a couple of things that you will need is you will need a personal paper trimmer. So make sure to pull that out. You'll need a scissors. I said Scotch tape would be good, adhesive for your layers, and then also like micro dot adhesive or a glue pen. So that's all you need for this card. So we started out with a card base, and this is actually a 6x6 card base, and these are the card bases that Stamplistic sells. Okay. On our website, we don't actually even have 6x6 card bases. We do those specifically for Stamplistic. So I took one of their card bases and I took a piece of 6x6 pattern paper right here, and that is from our Happy Heart printed paper pad. So that's where I got that out of. And what I did was I just took and I ran these both through a die cut machine at the same time. So now we have 2 sets of circle dies. These aren't complete because I'm using them, but I did use one of our sets of circle dies to make the hole in the middle, and I die cut those at the same time. So I took both of these 2 pieces, not die cut. I put my circle die on there and I ran them through at the same time. So that's how I got our window card plus our overlay. Now, these were hand cut, so they might not be perfect. So yeah, this is the size circle die, so I just set it on there, ran it through my machine, and I have our window card with our overlay. Now, these we hand cut, so they might not be perfect. So on my sample, let's pull my sample out. I do have a slight border going all the way around the card. So spinner card, I should have showed you that first. When you open it, the little jeweled thing that you made with Jennifer, the jeweled flower, spins around. So you twist it, and then when you go to open your card, the little thing spins. And with the crystals on there, wow, oh so pretty. So anyways, I showed you how I had a white border all the way around. So now if you want to, you can just leave it and it can go edge to edge. I am going to trim mine, and I'm going to give it a slight border all the way around. I'm going to trim approximately, I don't even want very much off, so 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch off is what I'm going to trim off of each side. So I'm just going to eyeball it and trim just a hair off. You can always trim more, but I'm just going to trim about 1/8 of an inch off of each side. And you can check it as you're going. So as you make each cut, just give it a little check just to make sure you're right. Because like I said, we hand cut all of these. So, you know, things move when they go through your die cutter a little bit. So you can just check it as you're going. I'm not going to. I'm kind of a go for it kind of gal. So now we have that. Okay, so now you can see that I have a slight border all the way around. Now don't attach this, because this is the important part with attaching your fishing line. And I'm just going to pull out another one just so I can put measurements on here. So right now, I should have brought a different piece of paper, so I'm not working white on white. However, you want to put your fishing line centered. So I don't always pull a ruler out, but if you want to, you can pull a ruler out. And it should be, well, our card is 6 inches. So the center will be at 3 inches. Of course, I wasn't using the ruler correctly. So yes, if you want to, you can put a little hash mark at your 3 inches below and above your circle. And that's up to you, but you kind of want it centered. If you don't have it centered and your spinning thing is off center, then it might hit the edges. And I do have a sample of that. I did one the other day and I didn't make sure it was centered, so I'm off center, and then when it spins, sometimes it gets caught. So it kind of is pretty important that you want it centered so it's not closer to one side and it doesn't get caught as it spins. So if you want to, you can mark the 3 inches above and below, just so you know where to put your fishing line. Now in your bag, you have your fishing line. I used an 8-pound fishing line. I don't know if it matters. I had a 4-pound fishing line and it seemed too light. So I went to an 8-pound. You could probably go heavier. So we're going to put a little bit of tape up here where my lines are, and that's just to help hold the fishing line in place. But I did find that it didn't, oh, hang on a second. The light went off. I did find that it didn't stick real well, so that's why I'm having you use Scotch tape. So I cut about 5 inches of fishing line, and you can measure that if you want. It's just got to be bigger than the opening and shorter than the card. But I'm just going to attach that, and this is just to hold it in place because I am going to, and I want my fishing line to go right down the middle, okay? And that's why I have my Scotch tape, because that will really hold it in place a lot better. Now just be careful up at this top section up here, because if you're using a wider tape, you don't want it showing. So I am going to trim my fishing line a little bit up there, just because remember I trimmed my overlay. I trimmed that, so I see a little bit of white up here. So you don't want to see your fishing line up there. So don't let your fishing line be too long. Just trim a little bit off. And depending on if you're using a wider or a narrower Scotch tape, you don't want that showing either. But I did pull my fishing line nice and tight, and then I'm putting Scotch tape to hold it in place. Okay, So I thought I could just use my two-sided adhesive, but it didn't hold really well while I was working with everything. So it was just easier to use my Scotch tape to hold it in place. And again, down on the bottom, make sure this is trimmed. Now, if you have any questions, be sure to ask them. Tammy's sitting here with me. My mom's online and she'll post any links. So we have that. Now, also in your kit, you had 2 scallop circles. You had a black strip and you had the die cut word thank you. The die cut thank you is one of our dies, which maybe my mom can link that for you. So these scallop circles, what are these in here for? Because technically, these 2 little guys are going to attach to the fishing line. But I did use these scallop circles as just kind of a base. Is the line taut or a little loose? You want it taut. You want it tight. So you want it totally taut. You don't want it loose. You want it taut. Okay. So these little guys, you know, technically will attach right there. Because they're so dimensional, I found it easier to attach them to a base. So one of these is going to attach to your fishing line on one side. The other one's going to attach to your fishing line on the other. So the easiest way to do that, I found, was to put tape all over one of them. Lay that down.
Are you working on the front of the card?
Oh, yes, I'm working on the front of the card. So this is the card front. Okay, the overlay is going to go over the top of it. So the fishing line will be sandwiched in between the card base and the overlay. So right now you're on the front of the card. Sorry, I forgot to say that in the beginning. But yes, if you have any questions, just let us know. So I have my, let's see if I can find a piece of something that's a little bit colored. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm just gonna put this down because I think that's a little creamier. You can see the white scallop circle. That's okay. You can see the white scallop circle on there. Okay, and your fishing line is just going to go right down the center of that. And I'm looking at it through the front. So this is the front, that's the back, and I'm just going to kind of place that centered. So this time I am just kind of eyeballing it. So equal distances all the way around. And then I can take my other one and I can attach it right over the top. So right now it's kind of attached there just with a little bit of adhesive, but I'm going to put tape on the back of my other one and I'm sandwiching the fishing line in between. Okay, so tape on my other scallop circle and I'm going to sandwich the fishing line in between. And you want your fishing line nice and tight. Okay, so and it doesn't even matter whether you line these up or not, because these honestly are going to be covered by our pretty flowers that you made with Stamplistic. So yeah, it doesn't matter. This could be a circle, this could be a square. I just want something that you have a base to attach your flower to. With this being so dimensional, it was hard, you know, working with the dimension and doing that. And also if I put tape on here and started attaching from the front, it was going to stick to the paper behind it. So now I have this little flower that you're actually attaching this piece to. Now with this one, we have plenty of room in here. So there's plenty of extra space outside of our flower. So we can actually go ahead and attach our overlay onto there right away. When you're doing other ones that are a little bit closer, you can attach one side of your spinner and make sure it spins before getting your card completed. Because once you get your card completed, it's hard to rip it all apart. And like I said, this one has like a good 1/4 inch all the way around. so we don't need to check it as much. With our next one, we're probably going to check it because the window is much tighter. But this one, we can just go ahead and, we can attach our overlay to the front. And then, so let's go ahead and do that, because then you're not seeing the white anymore. So we're going to attach the overlay first. You can put tape all the way around. If you want to put extra tape where the fishing line is, go ahead and do that. But go ahead and just attach your overlay. And so now we're sandwiching the fishing line in between the card front and the overlay. And we're just going to attach that on there. So now we have our card with our overlay, and we have our spinning mechanism. Okay, so this is all ready for whatever. So if you want to, if you want to save your pretty flowers for another card and you want to put something else in there, you're just going to attach it right to that spinning part right there. But we're going to go ahead and attach our pretty flowers with our crystals. Now, I am going to put adhesive on the back of here, just in the center, and I'm going to set it right down in the center. I did find it easiest, though, to kind of line up my flowers, make sure how they're going to line up before I have adhesive on them. I don't know if they line up perfectly back to back or not, and honestly, I don't think it matters, because the same color, that you're going to see that color even if it's a little bit off. But I think they do fit back to back somehow. So get them whichever way you want them, wherever you're going to attach them. And it might be easiest to even, like, if you find where they line up, like say they line up really good right here, maybe you want to even take just a Sharpie or something and mark that top one that you're lining up. So I have my 2 dots. Those are how they're going to line up. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put the lighter one goes on the front. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to put the lighter one on the front. I'm going to put adhesive just in the center of there. If I put adhesive all the way edge to edge, it might stick to my work surface. And then I'm going to make sure my dot is up, because then when I turn it over, so you just want to make sure it's centered, and you have about a 1/4 inch of space all the way around. So we can give that a little push. Now when we turn it over, we have our little dot right here, and now I know how I thought I was going to line it up. So I'm going to put adhesive on this whole back. And sometimes, because these are so dimensional, it helps to just kind of hold it a little bit in midair instead of working, with all that dimension behind it. So I am going to put adhesive on the back. And now I'm going to put adhesive on the whole thing. Doesn't matter, because now we're sticking it back to back. And we're kind of sandwiching our original scallop circles. We're sandwiching those in the center. And so once I sandwich those back to back, now I can test it. I can just take it and spin it. And this is what you do before you put it in an envelope if you're giving it to somebody. And you do have the envelope. And then you can open it and see how it spins. And the light really catches those crystals. It's beautiful. Alrighty. Let's go on to our word. So the word, you can either attach this directly on here, which it's a little long because I did make it 6 inches, so you might want to trim it slightly. So I'm just going to eyeball it to trim it. Because remember, if you trimmed your card, your overlay, it's a little bit shorter. So you can trim it to fit on the front. You can attach this onto here first, or you can attach the thank you onto there first. Totally up to you. I'm going to attach my layer on first. All right. You get it straight the first time, Sarah. Okay, now you can either use a glue or you can use some microdot adhesive. This is my microdot adhesive, and I'm just going to peel the top back. We do sell the microdot adhesive. It works great for your more delicate words. If I can find the corner, this is a new sheet, so. Okay, so the microdot adhesive, you pull the backing off. It's got the little dots on it. It's kind of like Sticky Specs, but it's a different brand. And then we're just gonna put the top back on, give it a little rub, peel it back off. And then the thank you. Now the thank you is our ice silver metallic cardstock. And then you can just gently attach that on there. So that is our first card.
Is my fishing line stretching? I put it tight, but it keeps getting loose.
You might not have enough adhesive to, like, use Scotch tape to really hold it down. I think Scotch tape holds best to hold it down. It shouldn't stretch too much, so just use more Scotch tape to hold it down. I have ones that I've been working with that I've been just showing, and they seem a little bit looser than when I originally did them. But so that's our first one. But yeah, that's why I held them down with Scotch tape versus just the two-sided tape, because the two-sided tape didn't seem to hold it in there. And with the dimension of these two, it is going to stretch a hair just because of the dimension in there. So to get this flat, it is going to stretch your fishing line just a little bit, and that just has to do with the dimension, because it's going to pull a little bit because of all the layers in there. So I'm going to set this one aside. We're going to go on to our next kit, which is this one. Now this one is a little bit different of a card. So we'll talk about the card base first. All right, so the card base for this one is this double window. This is an A6 card, so it's what we call a mid-size card. It's 4.5 by 6.25, and it's a 3-panel. So these we did hand cut for class because their die didn't come in. So we don't have a die to run this on your little die cut machines. Like, we have a big die that goes on our press. So we now do have these double circle window cards as a product that you can buy all pre-cut. Okay, so these are on, if my mom's linking you, she probably doesn't know where they are, so let me tell you. They are under windows and overlays, and then there's a box. The first box says double window cards. So that's where you'll find this one. There's also another one on there that's a smaller A2 size card. So anyways, that's the card. The overlay we also hand cut. So let's talk for a minute about how I cut the overlay. So this is the card. And I have a piece of, yes, I do. I have a piece that I'm just going to use as a layer, and it's the wrong color, but I just want to use it to show you. So I did take, in order to get my overlay, I did take, and I kind of holding it in place. Now you're not doing this, you're just watching right now.
Does it take more postage to mail this card?
To mail the, yes, any of the ones that have the dimension will take more postage, because the postage is anything square or anything that's greater than 1/4 of an inch, that takes more postage. And I believe it's 2 ounce postage versus, which is, I don't know how much 2-ounce postage is anymore. I think it used to be 70 cents. But anyways, right now I'm just holding my overlay behind my windows. This is just how to cut the overlay when you have a card that already has windows on it, but you want to cut an overlay that is layered. Okay, so I just took the size of overlay that I want on the front, and I'm just going to trace it. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to take one of my circle dies, which I did have it right here, so hang on one second. Yes, this is my circle die. Then I am just going to hold that in place with some removable tape. See how I have my circle, so this is the size of the window? I can line up my circle die with where I drew, and then I can cut that. So hang on a second, I'm behind you. I will be right back. I'm going to cut it and then I can show you how that lines up. So, and this is just how to cut your own overlay. So now I have my overlay. And we do have 2 sets of the circle dies, and it gives you every single size. So the 2 sets kind of layer together. But that's how you cut, you use a window card, and how you can cut an overlay that goes over the top of it. So, but we already have that done for you. But again, these were hand cut. So, oops, hang on. I had one that was dirty. That's why it was in my bag, or in my thing. So, if your sides aren't totally equal, you can just take a little snip off, just to...
My overlay was not cut properly, so I had more white showing on one side than the other. Suggestions on how to get it to center over the base card.
Yep, and also try turning it over, because mine doesn't fit one way over the other. So if I turn it over, the side is shorter on one side, and then if it still isn't, then you can take a little snip off of both sides. Because like I said, we hand cut these. So if you need to take a little snip off, because they are a little bit bigger than what you need. So like mine, I looked at it and I determined that I'm going to take a little snip off of one side and the bottom, and then it fits better. So, but they're, you know, try turning it over first. And if it totally, you know, because we were putting like 200 kits together, and yeah, if the die moved as we were die cutting it, just let me know. I'll send you a new one. So anyways, we're going to work on the overlay right now. So we're going to set the card, and you have a white smile, a black smile, border, and then you also have your 2 little base things that we used on our last one. But we're going to start out, and we are going to add some color to this. So in your kit, you also have a mini slimline die cut piece. So you can punch all those out, or at least as many of them as you want. You're not going to use the whole thing, so it doesn't really matter. And then you also need a blending brush and an ink pad. I like to use a little bit of adhesive, whether that's Scotch tape or whether it's removable tape, and just attach. And we're kind of using this as a stencil. So, but I like to just attach it down on 2 ends so then I can move my overlay underneath it. So we're just going to ink up our blending brush. I like to hold it behind the brush, go in circular motions, and I'm rubbing kind of hard. I've seen people just do this. I don't think you get as much ink on it. I like to hold my thumb behind it and just do a circular motion, and then do it off on your scratch paper just a little bit. Okay, because sometimes when you do it, you know, you'll get just a stark line, and you don't want that. So you want to just blend it a little bit off, and then you can go right on your project and just kind of add color. Now I didn't add color to the whole thing, but see, it hardly looked like anything was happening, and then bam, there they are. But you can go over different parts and just add color wherever you want. If you want to add color to the whole thing, if you want to add honeycombs to the whole thing, you know, you knock your socks off because this is your project. Whatever you want to do. I like to have you guys do a little bit more work. So I added the brush blending. Also to give some texture on the back, so it's just not solid cardstock. But instead of always using pattern paper, I'll sometimes use cardstock and then we'll do some brush blending on it. So, and again, you can add more or little, whatever you want to do. If you want it darker, just use a darker ink pad. And if I keep going, pretty soon I'm going to have honeycombs on my whole thing. So I'm going to stop there. But you do whatever you want to do.
Nice addition, Sarah.
So thank you. And then you can save this thing for another project. You can see that I was doing yellow with it previously, and on the other side now I'm doing blue. So yeah, just go ahead and save that, or you can put it on a card. Okay, so now we have that. Now we're going to go to, and I don't know which card base I made mine match. Yeah, that works. This one is a little bit different because now we're on a trifold card. So we're actually working on the inside. Hang on, I'm going to pull two of them down here just so I can use one for my card and one for my, to show you. So this is the front of my card. And actually let's do this. Let's go ahead and attach our overlay because our fishing line on this one is going to get sandwiched on the inside between the two windows. So the fishing line is actually going to get sandwiched in here, where the last one we sandwiched it between the overlay and the front of the card. This is a trifold card, so we're going to do it on the other side. But so we know which side is the front and which side is the back, let's go ahead and attach our overlay to the front of our card, which is the middle panel. I've got too many card bases hanging out here. I don't know which one I matched my overlay up to. Hang on a second. Oh yeah, it's this one. Okay, so you can go ahead and open your card. The middle panel is your front, and we're just going to go ahead and attach our overlay to the front. If you want, before you attach it, you can go ahead and trim your little My Tie metallic scallop border to that width. So, or you could measure it. It's I think it's 4 1/4, 4 3/8. Anyways, but I can just snip that to the same size. I'm going to put adhesive on the back of my overlay, and I'm going to attach it to the card front. So a little bit different because the first one we attached the window overlay to the front, and our fishing line, our spinner mechanism, was sandwiched in between our card front and our overlay. This is a trifold, so we're sandwiching a little bit different. Okay, so now we know that this is the front of our card. Okay, so we're going to turn that over, and now we're going to work on the inside of our card. So we're going to work on the inside of our card. Now this card is 4 1/2. So if you want to get your ruler out and just mark the center of your card, so yeah, this one is 4 1/2. If we want to mark the center, we're going to mark it at 2 1/4. The center is 2 1/4. So, and this is just for our reference of where our fishing line is going. So 2 1/4, we'll mark it down here, 2 1/4. We just want the center. And this one is a little bit tighter, so that's why I'm gonna, do the center a little bit. I want to get the center. because this circle is much tighter. So you do have to make sure it is in the middle. So we're going to do it a little bit different than we did last time, just to show you how to do it when you have a shape that's closer to the edge of your window. Again, you can cut about 5 inches of fishing line. I am going to put some double-sided adhesive in here. Okay, and then I'm also going to have my Scotch tape out. So I'm going to take my fishing line and put it right where I marked the center of my card. Now this one, it doesn't matter if it goes all the way up to the top, because this flap is going to fold over. So you're actually sandwiching the fishing line between these 2 layers. So now I'm going to get out my Scotch tape. So I did it with my 2-sided tape just to hold it in there, but then I am going to get my Scotch tape out and hold it much better. Or glue. Glue would probably work really good too. But 2-sided tape doesn't hold the fishing line very good. So you want it nice and taut. And I'm holding those together. Okay, now we are going to use our scallop circles again, and those are just so we have a base to attach our spinner on. And if you're, decide that you don't want to do our pretty flowers, you can put this together with your base and then just save it for when you have the right images. But yeah, the flowers with the crystals, those are just, when they spin, they're super pretty. Okay, so we're going to set this down, and we want this to go right down the middle. And it can attach right there. And then we're going to take our other one and we're going to attach it right over the top. And again, it doesn't matter whether it lines up perfectly, because this is just a base to attach your spinner to. And this is just because this one has so much dimension that it's hard to attach it. So it's easier to attach it to something. Okay, now technically we should be able to fold this over, but I'm going to leave this out for a minute, and we are going to just attach one of our spinners in here, and we're going to test it before we actually close up our card. So again, if you want to figure out what's your, where it lines up best, go ahead and figure that out. I should have marked mine ahead of time, but I didn't. And again, it doesn't make too much of a difference, because this pattern paper kind of blends with the other one, so it doesn't really matter. And you know what? If you give a card to somebody and they say you don't have your spinners perfectly lined up, they come off of your handmade card list. But yeah, you can just see how they line up the best. But yeah, with hand cutting these out like you guys did, with fussy cutting them, they might not line up perfect. But I did find where they lined up pretty good. So I'm just going to put a dot on the back of each of these, just so I remember. Now, I'm going to put the darker one on the inside, because we're still looking at the inside of the card, because this flap is going to turn over, and then this flap folds over like that. So this is the inside of our card. This is the front of our card. So I'm going to put the darker one on the back, and we're going to test it, because this has a much closer border around it. So you do need to make sure it's centered, otherwise it will get caught as it spins around. So we're just going to put a tape in the center of here. Where are we at for time? 2:11. We're doing good, because I want to show you the other cards that I gave you too. Because the double windows work great for the spinner, but also I gave you 2 double windows, plus I gave you a card that has a overlay. So Now we're going to test it. Before we close it up with our other spinner and the card, we're just going to test it to make sure that it doesn't get caught. Nope, it doesn't get caught, so yay. So now we're going to put tape. You can put tape around this panel, or you can put tape around this panel. Now I do find it harder with the spinner in here and the dimensions to put tape on this middle panel, so I am going to put tape on this outer panel, and then it's going to close and it sandwiches your fishing line in there. So go ahead with your tape gun. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes my spinners, like this is originally I put it on the other way, but that's okay. Sometimes they don't end up on the side that you want them on, and that's okay. Okay, so now I am just going to fold that in. That sandwiches the fishing line and the spinner portion. And then when we fold it, there's the front of our card. So I am going to open it up because I do need to attach the other spinner on here. And see, I marked my tops, so I kind of know how I want to line that up. But again, with the dimensions, it makes it a little bit more difficult, so I am going to do it kind of mid-air. So I'm just going to line that up, and I'm going to kind of pick it up to give it a good push to get those to connect together. And then I can spin it. And then, yay, that one works too. Awesome. So now we're going to go on to our smile. I gave you two smiles. One is black, one is white. It's up to you which one you want on the top. You might be missing the little dot for the eye. If you are, I'm pretty sure you might have a crystal or a gem laying around there somewhere that you could dot your eye with. Jennifer might have given you an extra one. Or you just might have some in your stash. Because yeah, we didn't make sure that your eye stayed in there. That may have fell out somewhere. Anyway, so it is up to you whether you want to put the black on the top or the white. I think on my sample I put the white on the top. Again, we're going to use our micro dot adhesive. When I attach these together, I do just kind of offset them slightly, so you see a little bit of the black shadow behind the white smile. So let's get my micro dot adhesive out. And I'll do my white one first. Yay, I'm glad you're liking the class. Yeah, this is the first time Jennifer called me, and we've been talking about it for a long time. So when she called me, she's like, we're doing it this month. So, and I was like, no, let's do it next month. And she's like, no, let's do it this month. So I'm like, okay. So we did, and yes, I am happy with it too. I hope you guys are all enjoying it. So one of these months I might do a book kit, another book kit. I did one a while ago in Crafter's Classroom, so I do have that coming up the pipe pretty soon. Now I'm going to use my micro dot adhesive again. And then, like I said, yeah, you can find a gem if you don't have the dot for your eye for smile. You can plunk a gem there. All right, so there we have our second card. So again, we're going to twist it up. And then when we open it, ooh, it spins, yay. Okay, so we've got our two cards done. I just have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to talk to you. Actually, Mom, if you can not look, so I'm telling my mom, if you're out there, don't look, because I'm going to show you her birthday card. Because in the set of extra card bases, let's look at those really quick. So you have envelopes. You have an A6 card, which is the exact one that we did with an envelope. So that's the same size circle.
They said they want more crossover classes.
More crossover classes. Yay! Jennifer and I will get on that. But one of the cards I gave you is this.
Not looking.
Oh, Mom said not looking. Okay, I'm going to show you her. This is her birthday card. I'm not quite done with it. But I spin it, and I still have to finish it. So if she is looking, I'll add to it. But yeah, there we go. That's her birthday card. And that is with, so Mom, you can look now. So that is with this card, which is a single window. But then I did give you the overlay. So the overlay can fit, and it is a white on white. So you can color it if you want to, you know, with a marker around the edge if you want it. But you can layer it on the inside to have a slight border, or you can layer it on the front, and that will just cover up. But to make your spinner card, you do need to cut off this side flap, because this is technically one of our trifold window cards. But I wanted to show you that you could use one of our other trifold window cards that just have one window in them. Use them with an overlay, or cut your own overlay like I showed you, but you're just going to trim off that side, because you can't use that side. You have to have a see-through window in order to do the spinner card.
Your mom said she even turned off the sound.
She turned off the sound too. That's funny. So anyways, so on the regular trifold window card that just has one window in the middle, you want to cut that flap off. You have a piece of white cardstock. I'm sure you can use that. But then you can use an overlay like we did on our very first one. So that's one of the cards I gave you. The other card that I gave you was this double window, which I did make this one. And again, this is the one that I showed you my mistake to make where it wasn't centered. But I did use that oval. So if you have any little square stamps or anything that fits on there, you just want to make sure that it's centered, and then it spin. Yeah, mine doesn't spin as well because I made the mistake of not having it totally centered. But that's why I gave you this little one. And then I also gave you the A6 one that is this exact one that we did. So now I think we're going to go, we'll point the camera up at me so you can actually see who you've been talking to. Let's see. So we have to manually do this. Are we good? Okay. So I'm Sarah with the Paper Cut. Thank you for joining me for the crossover event. Our winner today is Jody Dunn, and Jody, I will send you a door prize. Next up, we have Journaling with Art Anthology. They don't start until 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Pacific times, I didn't figure those all out. But anyways, so you have a little bit of a break before joining up with Journaling with Art Anthology. And then watch for Tuesday, watch for our next Crafters Classroom release. I don't know if we'll have a crossover class again next month, but Jennifer and I will definitely get it together to do it again. So thank you for joining me for our spinner cards, and we will see you on Tuesday, and then we'll see you next month. Bye guys, have a great day.